Hey guys, so on this video, I don't really have anything else I want to talk about today because this has been such a weird week. I want to talk through what's gone down. This is all about, for me, your beliefs creating your reality, and how your thoughts come from your beliefs, and all of that creates your feeling. And your feeling is what, your overall feeling is essentially the state you're in, and that's what creates in the outer reality. And so I wanted to talk through this because this is what I do. I don't know if anybody's going to find this interesting or not. This might just be a therapy video for me, but yeah, I'm going to talk about this. So earlier this week, my good friend's stepfather went into the hospital for like a routine hernia repair. And he's this awesome guy who is just like lighthearted. When he's at a party, he's the guy you want to hang out with. He's this older Jewish guy. I think he's Jewish. He has that Jewish sense of humor. I don't know if he's Jewish, but you may remember from previous videos that I have a special connection to Jewish people, and just, I don't know. I'm like an honorary member of the tribe. So anyway, he's just got that sense of humor and never had any kids, and was like, kind of like a party guy, big into the music scene and stuff like that. Until he was like a lot older and married my friend's mom. So anyway, he went in for a routine hernia surgery and had a whole bunch of complications, and it just went downhill, and he became disoriented and septic, and ended up on a ventilator. And so on, I think it was Friday, maybe Thursday, I don't know, my friend was, telling me all these details of all this stuff, and she sent me a picture of him on the ventilator, and it was like literally, I think that picture was the saddest picture that it was the picture that created the most sadness in me that I've ever seen. And so I think that sort of set the stage for this. Later that night, after seeing that picture, which really affected my mood, I don't know if I was thinking about my own dad's death. He never had to be an event, but I was just thinking about him and what he went through. And for some reason, I just decided I was going to imagine what it would feel like if I found out that I was going to die soon. So like, I knew for sure, I put myself there. What would I actually feel like if I knew all of this was going to end, like, really soon? And actually earlier that day, I had been thinking about how great everything is. Like, everything in my life is so great right now. It's, emotionally, I'm really happy with the way everything is right now. And objectively, things are pretty good too, but I'm just feeling good. So anyway, I don't know why I put myself there, but I thought about it, and it was like the most instantaneous, what I imagine feeling, what that would really feel like it just hit me like a Mack truck, what that would feel like. And quickly I stopped, because I don't like to entertain. I used to go down rabbit holes like that all the time, where I would like really imagine something bad and like imagine going through it all, which, by the way, is proof that that's not all it takes to create the outer reality. Nothing that I ever imagined that was really bad actually ended up happening. But just having been really observant of everything that's happening in this community, I don't go there anymore, because I don't think anybody really quite understands what the magic formula is for things actually happening. So I just don't really entertain those things anymore. I have seen that my mind is quite powerful at creating things. And so I don't want to, sorry, I'm playing with my earring. I don't want to do that just in case I accidentally create something. So I stopped myself. And it took a little bit to come back from that. One thing that came out from that for me, before I stopped thinking about it, was, man, I would just want it to all be over right now. If I knew I was going to have to go through this, if I knew that I was going to have to watch the time pass until all of this is gone, I would just want it to be over right now. That's been my attitude towards anything like that. When my dad was dying, from the moment I realized this is probably it, I detached and distanced myself to a great degree. I just, it was just horrible, essentially knowing what the outcome was going to be, and then all the unknowns that went into it, and having to watch him get worse and worse and all that. I wanted it to be over as quickly as possible. And I actually intended, I didn't want to watch him die from cancer. I intended for something else to happen. That was the only intentional thing I ever did. I don't mess with death. I don't, if it's somebody's time to go, I don't need to inject myself into that. That's my philosophy. So I didn't do any other intentional, imaginal stuff with him, but I imagined telling my brother, well, this went about as good as it could have. This was about the best we could have hoped for. And that is what happened. There ended up being a complication. He was never in a lot of pain. His cancer never spread. He ended up dying pretty quickly. So what I wanted, the thing I intended to happen, happened, but I don't know if I had any influence on that or not. There's no way to know. But so anyway, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about my pets that I've had to put down. Both of my pets that I had to put down. There was an entire day that had to be endured between knowing they were going to have to be put down and when they could actually be put down. And those were two of the worst days of my life. And so that's like sort of that's my attitude about it, is just make it be over right now. It needs to be over right now. Anyway, so I let that go. I stopped thinking about it. I let it go. And then last night, I was on Reddit, and I'm subscribed to the nursing subreddit, and somebody had posted a picture of a sweater that someone had sewn together, made out of those socks that they give to all the patients in the hospital that have traction on the bottom, those blue socks. So this person had made like kind of an awesome sweater out of a whole bunch of these socks. And I was really impressed by it. And immediately it reminded me of this person whose blog I used to follow years ago, like 10 years ago. There was this girl, her name's Jillian Owens, and she had a blog called Refashionista, where she would go. She was this little tiny girl, my age, this little tiny girl, who, with this amazing talent for taking like a hideous thrift store find, like hideous, like the more hideous, the better, the more impressive it would be what she could do with it. She'd get like some royal blue 1980s monstrosity from a thrift store and turn it into a totally cool, modern looking dress or something, only using stuff that she had, cut off of. Like if she needed to make a sash, it would be part of the dress that she cut off. This was like mind blowing. When I first found her blog, I think I spent like 3 straight days, just going back through all the archives because it was so amazing. Anyway, I stopped, I got bored of it after a while and stopped following it. But this sweater on Reddit reminded me of her, and I was like, man, I wonder what she's up to. I wonder if she still has her blog. It took me like 10 minutes to find her because I couldn't remember the name of her blog or what she used to call the designs, when she called them refash. And so I finally found her. And the main post on the page is a picture of her with a mask on, with very short hair, and the title is "My Cancer is Back and It's Not Playing Nice." And this post was from August 21st of last year. So the last post is from August 21st of last year, so I'm like, oh my god, fuck. So I Googled her name, and she died. She died last year, I think. And so that was shocking enough on its own. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until I read something that she wrote in an earlier post after she had first gotten cancer, done chemo, and was in remission. She, or maybe while she still had, maybe before she was done, I don't know. At some point she wrote, "I'm trying to be brave, but the thought of leaving this all behind so soon is just making me so sad." Basically, the exact thing that I felt in this brief flash of imagination the night before. The timing of this was so close together. Having thought that and felt that myself, and then seeing somebody else say it, who I could relate, this person's my age, I could relate to her. You know, this person's writing and personality came through so strongly on this blog. Like, you know, she would make these stupidest faces when she was like wearing the old monstrosity before she redid it. And she just was so positive and upbeat. Like, this was a person whose personality came through to the point where, you know, you just felt like you loved her without even knowing her. You know, this felt really personal to me. It was just too similar. And the timing was too close together. So I was like, what the hell? You know, I know that the manifestation communities, in my opinion, cheap, easy answer to that is, oh, you thought about it and then you manifested it. I don't buy that. Maybe that's possible. Maybe I thought about it and then I manifested it. But if so, that's not where it ends. If that's what happened, if that's what I did, then there has to be a meaning for that. That's my opinion. It's not just, oh, these two things are connected. It's just what I thought outpictures in reality. We have a billion freaking thoughts, a billion emotions that don't outpicture in reality. So why did this one show up? What was the meaning of this? It took me about 2 hours before I just, you know, realized that I'm trying to stop myself from exploring whatever this is. Probably because, despite the fact that I speak out against all this shit, just exposure to all kinds of crazy ideas tends to make them get in there somehow. So I was like, what the hell, you know? I would never in the past have like really stopped myself from exploring the thing that I was sort of imagining the night before. Like, why did I start thinking about that, and what did that tell me, and what needs to happen here, basically. My assertion about beliefs is that the ones that cause you pain, ones that cause you to feel very afraid or upset, are simply false. And that's because you can exist in a state of bliss where none of that exists. And when you do that for a while, you notice that when something comes in that causes you pain, it's a belief about something. This is very hard to discern if you are living your whole life just kind of as a jumbled mess of emotions, like a pinball, you know, bouncing off of everything, without stopping to let the waters settle and, you know, figure out what's going on. It can be very difficult to even tell what one thing means. It's not separate from another, that kind of thing. And so, having experienced that state of just sort of utter peace and bliss for an extended period of time, a couple times in my life, I've come to a pretty strong conclusion that fear and pain come from misperception. They come from something that you believe that just isn't true. And so that's where I went with this. I was just like, why would I, you know, that feeling of knowing, you know, that feeling of like my life is going to be over soon, I'm going to have to leave this all behind, was really intense. And I don't consider myself to be a person who's afraid of death, because I'm not. It's not about death. It's not death that scares me. It's everything before that that is still on my plate. And so I thought about it, and the first thing that came to mind is, well, you know, I wouldn't want to leave my mom and my ex and my fiance behind. I wouldn't want, you know, I'm not sure they would be okay. As I realized, I have sort of a belief that as long as I'm here, those three are going to be okay. And if I leave, I'm not sure they'll be okay. Okay, so there's one source of pain, right? That's a belief that isn't true. They would be okay. Everyone's going to be okay because this whole fucking thing's okay. So, that's a belief that takes a minute, you know, and I think that kind of thing can come up as just sort of like a subtle feeling that just injects your life with just a little bit of like unpleasantness and fear. And if it comes to the surface, you know, then you can recognize it more readily when you're feeling that feeling that goes with that. So from here on out, having thought about that, I can remind myself regularly when needed that the people that I love are going to be okay whether I'm here or not. Stop thinking that they're not going to be okay, which I could see being very difficult if you have children. So maybe more challenging for some than others. But anyway, that was the first thing that came up. Thought about that. That wasn't enough. That wasn't That didn't do it for me. So I continued kind of like thinking about it and realized that I think the big thing for me, the big like gift from this little experience, and why, if I indeed created all this for myself, why I created it for myself, was that feeling of I would want it all to be over right now. That has a lot of stuff wrapped up into it. That, I think, is an indicator that my happiness is still currently based on a concept of there being a future. It's something in the future. It's still not in the present moment. I'm still not living in the present moment, because when you're living in the present moment, and in my mind I was thinking if I had a year to live, I would just want it to be over now. A year is like an infinite amount of time when you're living in the present. And so the fact that I want it to be over right now, the fact that I wanted my dad to be gone like right away, all this stuff, all of that to me is it's just coming from a state of fear. It's fearing what's going to happen. It's fearing the unknown. And being unable to deal with what's here right now. It's basically still living in the illusion. That's the conclusion that I came to about this. I'm still really attached to this incarnation. You know, like the idea in my mind, it was like, it'd be so sad to lose this all. It'd be so sad to know that, you know, this life that I'm enjoying is going to come to a close, as if there's not anything better after that. Or, you know, it really opened my eyes to where I am in relation to this world still. And I think it's probably a tall order for people to be, you know, expected to get to a point where that doesn't matter. But I started to explore it. I started to think about it. And I started to think about, you know, what if I had a completely different outlook on that? What if, you know, I was thinking, well, you know, what if we really do get to see like everybody? Like, what if I knew I was going to see the first person that comes to mind is my cat that I had to put down. What if I knew my cat was going to be there? What if I knew that right after I die, I get to see my cat again? What if I see my dad again? Everybody else that's gone, my aunt that was like my grandmother, my dad, you know, my aunts and uncles that have died, you know, just, I started to sort of shift how I was looking at it. You know, what if I knew that everyone here was going to be okay, and that, you know, that the things that I enjoy here are just coming from a state of mind that I can take with me, essentially. What if I knew that I was going to see people that I love that I haven't seen? You know, could I look at it a different way? And would that be less painful? And basically that's where I went with that and where I'm staying with it. Because this was not just some like run-of-the-mill thing. I was deeply affected both by the feeling I had briefly the other night, and then by seeing this, you know, this person who I felt like I can't explain it. It's not somebody I even knew, but I just felt heartbroken reading her, you know, her viewpoint. The other thing is, also, reading from her perspective, another thing that I felt really bad about was just thinking what she had to go through. You know, the fact that she was feeling that thing that I had felt briefly the night before. I was like, wow, this person actually lived that and went through that all the way to its culmination, you know, in death. And I just felt this tremendous sense of pain and empathy, you know, like thinking about that. And that's another thing also. I think a lot of you can relate to this. I've spent a lot of time in my life over empathizing, feeling other people's pain, as though that helps anything, as though that lightens their load. I decided long ago that other people's pain is not mine to feel, and that it doesn't actually do me any good to attempt to actually feel what somebody else is feeling. We don't need two people feeling the same. Like, there's enough pain that happens in life. There's enough things that you have to deal with and work through in life for you. Like, somebody else's pain, while it's good to understand them and to sympathize and all of that, really feeling somebody else's pain truly and deeply like that, like it's actually happening to you, I think that's a bad thing. I think that's bad for everybody. I think it's especially bad for the person feeling it. And I used to suffer a lot from that and stop. I remind myself often, this isn't my pain to feel. And anyway, you can never really know what someone else is going through. When you empathize, when you feel the pain somebody else is feeling, you're not really feeling their pain. You're imagining your own pain. And that was really what was in it for me, was I'm imagining my own pain again. I imagined my pain last night. Now I'm empathizing with this person who expressed the exact sentiment that I was thinking. I'm feeling my own pain again. What is my own pain here about? And that's where you go into, what do I believe and what am I thinking? What are my thoughts? What are my beliefs that are leading to my thoughts that are creating this pain? That's where all the good stuff is. That's where all the juice is. So I just wanted to talk through that because honestly, it made me feel better. I feel better now. But I just thought also it might be helpful to somebody. Maybe there's a little gem in there for you. I'm just a person working through this stuff myself as well. It's trying to transcend a lot of the human bullshit that everyone takes for granted. So anyway, I hope that helped somebody, and have a friggin' awesome day after that story. By the way, for those of you that made it to the end of this, my friend's stepfather took a turn for the better yesterday, and even better today, and it looks like he's going to come out of it and be fine. It was looking really bad there for a minute. I told my friend the first night, she was saying, I hope we don't have to attend a funeral. Oh my God, oh my God. And I said, don't just imagine him home. I swear to God, this stuff works. That's what I said to her. I don't talk to my friends and my family too much about all this stuff, but I'm not above saying so. I was like, look, just imagine him home. I swear to God, it works. She's like, I'm doing that. It's really hard. And I also did that. And so who knows how much we influenced that, but he is getting better, and thank God. And I'm really happy about that. I hope that things don't regress back into a bad place. But it's looking like he's just gonna have to be in the hospital for a little bit, and then he's gonna be able to come home and recover there. And that some of the things that were going wrong weren't that big of a deal, although they seem to be. Getting sepsis under control is a big deal. So his fever's down and all that stuff. So all's well that ends well. Have a great day.